What is up, guys? This is your boy Zilla, and welcome to today's episode as I'll be giving my predictions on UFC 263. Before I do that, please hit that subscribe button, also the notification bell so you get a notification every time I make a video, guys. So let's get into this because this is probably one of the more surprising rematches in UFC history. Never thought Vettori was gonna ever get a rematch against the person who dominated him, Israel Adesanya, but here we are on pay-per-view. And then, like, in the undercard, we have the rematch between Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno, which was a great match as I predicted. And it's going to be pretty cool to see some of these matches. And finally, the third wheel, which is a great third wheel for any card. We have Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards. It's going to really test Nate Diaz's skill and see if he's really still an elite fighter. But first, let's start off with the Moreno-Deiveson Figueiredo rematch. I think that this fight is going to be really good. I mean, the last one was a draw, so we all know this is going to be another banger. Their styles clash with each other perfectly. But who do I think is going to win the fight? We would have to then start thinking about the fire goals, right? What does each fighter need to do to beat each other? And to me, for Moreno, I think he needs to mix up with a little bit more wrestling and don't slug out with Deiveson Figueiredo as much, because Deiveson Figueiredo has a lot of power. Stay on his inside. And then when he's outside, try to threaten him with the takedown to try to nullify some of his striking game. Whereas on the opposite side, I would say for Deiveson Figueiredo, stay striking in mid-range and just outpower Moreno with your superior boxing. So in that fight, it's going to be very interesting who implements their strategy more, but they're both great all-around fighters and it could go any way. But I will actually say that Deiveson Figueiredo will win the fight by decision, if not by knockout, by surprising him with the punch. He has tighter technique. Moreno has known to get a little bit sloppy. Even though at times he could be tight, he's still kind of inconsistent fighter for me with his intensity at times. So that's why I would lean Figueiredo in that rematch matchup. So now let's go to Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards. And this fight is going to really test where Nate Diaz is, and is that rust going to really affect him? Because now this is a high-level fight against a very, very underrated fighter in Leon Edwards. The dude has a great combination of boxing, wrestling, and clinch game. And even Usman said that would be the toughest matchup for him, as it was last time in their fight, I think about in 2018. So even since then, even though he's not been getting matches, he's still been improving some of his stuff. And when you look at the fire goals for these two, Nate Diaz, to me, has to use his great boxing range, and he can't rely on his stamina because Leon Edwards has one of the best staminas in that division, probably top 3 or 4. So that's not going to work as a long game strategy. He can keep up that intensity for the whole 5 rounds. So he's going to actually have to be a superior fighter to him. And I think closing in range and maybe not getting to the clinch game with him, but using that faster speed of punches in a contained mid-range setting, I think it's going to work better for Nate Diaz. Whereas on the other side, I think Leon Edwards has to dirty box with him, start mixing up clinch game with punches to try and confuse Diaz and take away his length and maybe take him down. Because even though I think Nate Diaz has great jiu-jitsu, when you're dealing with this level of fighter, you don't really want to give him anything to work with as far as getting him in good position on the ground, because he's great everywhere. And my prediction for this fight, I love Nate Diaz, but I had to go with Leon Edwards because he's the more solid all-around fighter and he has great stamina. And we've seen Nate Diaz try to lean on that stamina against weaker fighters to try and keep, or try to hide his weaknesses until maybe the 4th or 5th round. But when you deal with fighters who already have great stamina and are better than you, I think that's just an overall combination for winning on the side of Leon Edwards. And now finally we come to the main event, Vettori versus Israel Adesanya. And I just don't see how there's any way this fight is going to go. Oh, excuse me, that was my ESPN app. I don't see how it's going to go any other way than what it did last time. I think Israel Adesanya is going to perfectly counter everything. He's not going to give him a lot to work with. Vettori is going to have to be aggressive, which feeds into Israel's game of you missing and him countering you. And I think it's going to be a pretty easy win for Israel Adesanya despite Vettori's major improvements. If you would have told me 2 years ago or just 1 year ago that Vettori would be fighting for the title, I would have probably laughed at you and said, nah, but this dude really does deserve some of the credit he is due. but he's gonna lose. Like, I don't see it. If Israel Adesanya loses this fight, this will be one of the biggest upsets in the past 5 years. I mean, there's just no way around it. You dominate this guy the last time y'all meet, and now he beats you somehow. It'll just be a perfect down spiral for the hype train that was Israel Adesanya, especially after losing to Jan Blachowicz and then losing to Vettori. It would be devastating to Israel Adesanya's career if he lost this fight. But put your predictions in the comments section. Who's going to win all 3 of these main event level fights? And who is Israel Adesanya going to match up with next? Because that's going to be another interesting topic for another video. This has been the best Gojira in UFC news. Sign off, guys. I will see you guys next time.